So with all this talk about the Samsung Galaxy A series, the Samsung Galaxy S20, and even the upcoming Note 20 in August, it's easy to forget about the iconic Samsung J series. Yes, that's right, the J series. The pinnacle of quality yet affordable technology in its time. In fact, if you didn't see this video, or if you yourself don't use one or know someone that uses a J series phone, then you may have forgotten that those smartphones still exist today. Now don't get me wrong, Samsung actually has officially confirmed that the A series is in fact the successor to the J series, the official successor to the J series, and they're doing a very good job at keeping up with that quality, affordable smartphone standard that we all love so dearly about the J series lineup. A series phones such as the A80, the A30s, the Galaxy A Quantum, etc, etc. In fact, I did a whole video about A series phones, so if you want to, you can actually go and check that out. I'll put the link in that which is either here or here, I'm not sure yet. But back to the matter at hand, the forgotten Samsung J series. The J series definitely set a standard and broke the stereotype that the cheaper the phone is, the worse it is, because a lot of those phones that were popular back then, such as the J7, the J7 Prime, the J8, the Galaxy J, all of those phones at the time of their release were really good smartphones at really affordable prices. I remember wanting a J series phone, like I think it was a J7 or J6, something like that. I remember wanting one of them back then when they were popular because it was cheaper than a Samsung Galaxy S7. Now for me to talk about every J series phone would be near to impossible for me for a lot of obvious reasons. So instead I'm going to just zone in on four specific smartphones under the J series, and those are the Galaxy J, the Galaxy J7 Prime, Galaxy J7 Pro, and the Galaxy J8. So the Samsung Galaxy J, the phone that started it all. This phone was released in 2013, and back then it was rocking a 5-inch Super AMOLED Corning Gorilla Glass 3 display with a pixel density of 441 pixels per inch, Android Jelly Bean, and it was upgradable to Android Lollipop. Had the Qualcomm Snapdragon 800 chipset with Adreno 330 GPU and quad-core 2.3 GHz CPU, 16 GB of storage and 3 GB of RAM. The battery was a non-removable 2600 mAh lithium-ion battery, and as for the cameras, it had a 13 megapixel autofocus main camera which could actually shoot 4K at 30 frames per second back in 2013, and a 2 megapixel front-facing camera. To be honest, that's all really impressive for a phone that came out in 2013. So the J series started out good. It started out really good. Now we're just gonna fast forward to 2016 when we had the J7 Prime get released. So this one had a 5.5-inch PLS TFT Gorilla Glass display. It came out on Android Marshmallow but is upgraded to Android Pie, even on One UI. Exynos Octa chipset, Mali T830 GPU, and an octa-core CPU. It came in 16 GB and 32 GB variations with 3 GB of RAM. It had a non-removable 330 mAh lithium-ion battery. It had a fingerprint sensor, home button, and 13 megapixel main camera and an 8 megapixel front-facing camera. What I found interesting about this phone is that it got a lot of updates. Usually, especially in the J series phones, they only get like one update throughout their lifetime, maybe 2, but this one got 3 whole updates, and that just goes to show how far quality hardware can push a phone. So next we have the Galaxy J7 Pro that was released in 2017. The thing about this J series phone is the design for me. It obviously took after the S7 and came out with the very slim side bezels, and it makes this phone look good along with the antennas on the back. It still had the bezels at the top and the bottom, of course, because it couldn't take away from the Galaxy S8's main selling point, which was the fact that the top and the bottom bezels were removed. So the J7 Pro came out with 5.5 inch Super AMOLED screen with an always on display and 401 pixels per inch. It was running on Android 7 and it's upgraded up to Android 9 on the Exynos Octa chipset on the octa-core CPU. 32GB and 64GB variants with 3GB of RAM, non-removable 3600 mAh lithium-ion battery, fingerprint on the home button, 13 megapixel main camera and a 13 megapixel selfie camera. This was one of the top budget phones in 2017 and it's clear why. The specs were great and the fact that it can run One UI even with the home button speaks volumes just how important good hardware is for the lifespan of a phone. Now for the Galaxy J8, which was released in 2018. It was actually part of the first set of J series phones that removed the home button. So it came out with a 6-inch Super AMOLED screen with a pixel density of 274 pixels per inch, a Qualcomm Snapdragon 450 chipset, octa-core CPU and Adreno 506. It had 32GB with 3GB RAM and 64GB with 4GB RAM variants, non-removable 3500 lithium-ion battery, fingerprint on the back and dual cam setup with a 16 megapixel main shooter and 5 megapixel depth sensor for portrait mode, a 16 megapixel wide angle selfie camera. Clearly, this phone is at the standard that we'd desire for a smartphone back in 2018. And after hearing all of that, it's safe to say that these phones really put quality and affordability into one and paved the way for what we know now as the Samsung Galaxy A series, which are often what we refer to as Samsung's budget-friendly lineup. And that's Samsung's intention. So all of these devices were great for their time. Well, kinda. Most of them, majority of them, yeah. Majority of them. Some of them actually have trouble keeping up with the 2020 standard now and with the demands of apps and other factors that influence device performance. So for example, the Galaxy J2 Prime, which came out in 2016, had some low-end specs, but it had a brand name, and that name was Samsung. I mentioned this to say that a lot of the time, budget smartphones are a great bang for your buck, and the other times, they're not. But if there's one thing I've noticed about smartphone consumers, well, at least in Jamaica, here I have, a lot of the time people will always go for a brand name, especially the brand name Samsung. And it's not just Samsung, you have brand names such as Apple and LG that people always go for. That Samsung brand name and logo that comes up when you power the phone on is, at the end of the day, enough for the average user to purchase a phone and enjoy using the phone. So yeah, that's been it for the forgotten Samsung J series phones. Definitely a great lineup of phones, and the Samsung A series just continues to perpetuate that legacy that Samsung has for producing great budget smartphones. So yeah, and since recently there have been a lot of other phone companies that have now been producing budget-friendly smartphones, such as we all know about the iPhone SE 2020 that came out for $399, OnePlus Nord for $399, and I kind of like this trend. I really do like this trend of budget smartphones that are at a quality standard. So I like where this is going. I'm excited to see how other top tier companies do it, and yeah, let's just look forward to what's to come. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Shamar Crossfield. I've heard that I should change that ending, so if you guys have any suggestions for how I can change the ending of my videos or try something different, just leave them in the comments below. I really don't know, but until then,